And a steal. Miller retreats to the three-point line. Weber imploring the crowd. Lowry for through. Yes.
Big time plays here by Steve Smith.
It's another roundtable discussion filled with hilarity and goodwill we call Open Court here on NBA TV. I'm Ernie Johnson. 7 former NBA players, as always, here to discuss just a number of things. And on this one we have Chris Webber and Bones Berry. Oh, thank you very much. You got the Fred Carter point. Thank you very much. That was very effective. Yeah, Brent Berry's next to him. He's sitting in for Kenny the Jet Smith. Steve Smith, also on the sofa over here with these guys. Big Shaquille O'Neal for the first time in our open court segments, sitting right here next to me. And I am very honored to have the big Aristotle here. Steve Kerr, Charles Barkley, Reggie Miller. Stop the pointing. So what we're talking about here, and this sounds like a far-ranging and limitless topic, keys to life. Keys to life. And we start on the basketball court. And so you hear this all the time when you talk about God-given abilities, determination, practice, drive, work, that kind of thing. So how would you break down all of that when it came to the product you put on the floor, Chris Webber? What led to success on the floor?
Following the footsteps of my father. You know, my father was a heavy influence in my life, and he'd always wake up and say, kind of not throwing it in our face, but make sure you find something that you love to do and do it. The worst thing in the world is going to a job you hate to do, and he would say that all the time. And so it was never any excuse in my family about hard work. And so I always looked at, you know, what would he do? Would he stay here longer? Would he do this? And his problems, it seemed like he always solved with hard work. So when it came down to it, your mind's cloudy, anything's going on, just get him work until you figure it out. Don't be emotional, work, keep going. And I just try to be like my father, man.
And you feel that you were gifted in a way, though, to do what you're doing?
Oh, I mean, yeah, you know, no matter size or skill set, you have to be gifted to be in the NBA. You know, so God gave you, you know, you don't make yourself 6'9". I've been this height since 9th grade, you know.
Let me see, Webb.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
God-given ability right there.
Yeah. And, you know, with God-given ability, I think is a responsibility, you know, to try to get the most out of it. And I always wanted to be in the NBA, but as I said, my father being in the factory, I just knew you're supposed to work hard, don't make excuses, and, you know, you try to be like him.
How about when we talk about keys to life, and we'll limit this one to the basketball court, not life in general, Shaq, but what was it on the floor?
I called it, you know, at an early age, I called it dreamful attraction. I can remember being on punishment a lot. I'm sort of like Webber. I was, you know, my father, Sergeant Philip Harrison, we all know him, as a drill sergeant. I was a medium-level juvenile delinquent, always in trouble. Was always on punishment. So I would watch basketball because that's what I wanted to be. And early
what was punishment? Was this?
No, well, I would have to do chores like, you know, clean the room up or clean the house up, cut grass. But after that, I'd have to go in the room and then watch TV. As a matter of fact, I always used to watch TBS on Tuesday.
For punishment.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That makes me feel real good.
Yeah, I used to watch TBS on Tuesday. So,
thanks.
As I said earlier, I just, you know, I wanted to be like Barkley. You know, one of my favorite players was Barkley, who was a big guy. You know, they always tell big guys don't dribble. But Barkley, he takes it off the glass, he dribbles, he throws it down. So I was like, you know what? That's what I want to do. I want to be like this. So, well, you know, for me, it was called dreamful attraction.
Well, Ernie, when I started, I wasn't a juvenile delinquent like Shaquille, but I started playing basketball just to stay out of trouble. I wasn't any good, but it kept me around, just around better people. And I love when kids play sports because sports teach you how to work hard first and foremost. Everybody sitting here, everybody in the NBA can play. So the one thing we have in common is all of us worked hard. You don't get to the NBA, and all of us played a bunch of years. That's one thing you know for sure. You don't stay in the NBA a lot if you're lazy or don't have a good work ethic. I mean, and that's the one thing we'll always have in common. But it's just an unbelievable privilege to play in the NBA.
Is that work ethic you picked up from watching somebody else on your team, or is that just something that was ingrained in you? Did you like the way a certain guy approached the game, Smitty?
I think the work ethic started like a lot of everybody's saying. My dad, he worked 37 years driving a bus. He was in the Army. But I think the two players for me was George Gervin and Magic Johnson. I take my hat off to them because they came back home, played exhibition games, the Round Ball Classic. I remember Charles that y'all had to travel in. And I used to always go down to Cobo Arena and watch those guys. And Magic and George Gervin, when they came back to spend a few minutes with you, that inspired me to want to play and actually just work harder.
Were there certain things you did in a workout that you had to do? I have to shoot this many shots. I have to hit this many shots. I have to hang every net in the gym. What was that kind of stuff going on with you, Bones?
I was always an end on the make kind of guy. I don't know, whenever I left the gym, and I coach my little guy now, and I always tell the little YMCA guys that I got running around before we leave practice, you got to end on the make. But to your point about who it was, I think it's phases. It was phases in high school. I watched a guy named Eric Dynaberg who played for De La Salle High School when I grew up. This white guy, 6'3", but could jump out of the gym. And I was like, man, I want to be like Eric Dynaberg. Not now, but then.
It sounds like there may be more to the
Yes.
Eric Dynaberg story.
We can talk about that off camera. Then when I got to college, I watched Gary Payton play at Oregon State. I ended up going to Oregon State, but I watched Gary Payton. I watched Harold Miner played against him in college. I'm like, man, you can be that good? And then after I got to the league, I had the opportunity to work out with Chris Mullin every summer. And forget it. After that, it's a done deal. As Charles and Reggie, you know. There's no greater example of work ethic and what you can be capable of doing. So I went in phases, but never leave the gym on a miss. Sorry, Shaq.
You know, I didn't understand the total question, but on the basketball court, you know, definitely inspired at different levels, but hard work, like you'll search out people too. So my first day of practice is Chris Mullin, and I've never seen anybody that could shoot like that. I was just in awe just watching him, and I asked him, how do you stay in this league? And he sat me in the cold tub, and I didn't want to do it. And he sat me in the hot tub, and he sat me in the cold tub, and hot tub 5 minutes. He was like, this is how I rejuvenate my body, because he was older at the end of the end of his career. And so I would just watch him stretching. I would go to his house, see what he was eating for breakfast. Like, you know, first I was a fan, and he was my man, but also I knew, you know, you follow the great ones. You follow somebody that's been before you and does it better. And Chris Mullin was a wonderful example, especially shooting drills and to be consistent, because it wasn't like I do this every Tuesday or I do this Thursday. With him, it was every day.
I can't tell you, Ernie, how the hours that I spent with Chris, like Webb's saying, just to see it, but every summer I go home, we were in the gym for 6 hours a day. You know, and this is Chris post-Dream Team, playing in Indiana, and still in the gym, having that be his getaway, and every day shooting shots and playing. I can't describe
I never
it.
even worked out with Chris Mullin, but I did the Mullin drills every day in my workout. I mean, that was his scope of his influence on the league. He actually wrote a book with Mark Grabo, the Golden State strength coach. It's called like the Top 100 or something. Those were his drills. I got a hold of that book, barely knew Chris. I did his drills every single day while I was playing.
Did the work ethic increase the better you got, or did you get better because of your work ethic? In other words, when you started realizing this might be my career, I may have the talent to go to the NBA, did you take it up another notch, Reggie?
Well, I was a late bloomer. I was only 5'9" when I entered high school. And so for me, it's drive and determination, because I wasn't as physically gifted as a Shaq or C. Webb at a young age. So to me, putting the time and the effort into the drills and the shooting, I started to grow 2 inches every summer. By the time I finished high school, I was about 6'5", 6'6", going to UCLA. And you talk about guys that helped you. To me, Kiki Vandeweghe, because he was one of the most fundamentally sound players that I'd ever seen. And just, you know, playing at UCLA, him coming and working out with me one-on-one, showing me certain things of positions on the floor and how to shoot and the drills and coming early, staying late. You know, it's not a secret that, you know, Steve Kerr is a great shooter, Chris Mullin. It was putting those times in the gym, staying late, repetition, and you get ingrained in that as a young player, and it just kind of develops, you know, throughout your professional career.
It's stages, because the one thing about sports, every time you go to a different level, Ernie, you start over. So, like in high school, I told you, you know, Tiger Woods always talk about he had Jack Nicklaus on the wall.
Yeah.
I had a guy named Travis Abernathy on my wall in high school because he was the best player from high school. So I had Travis up on the wall. But then when you go to college, you back at 0. And I attached myself to a guy named Greg Turner, who's still great friends today. Like, this guy was the hardest working guy. So I said, okay, I'm going to follow that guy. So then when I go to the NBA, you start back at 0. And then Moses Malone took over. And Moses probably had the greatest influence on my basketball career because, you know, Moses says, I said, Moses, I'm not getting to play. He says, oh, you fat and you lazy. And I said, sound like you said I was fat and I was lazy. I did, big fella, I did. You fat and you lazy. And Moses got me, because like I say, I played at 300 pounds in college.
Holy crap.
And I thought, but because that's another thing you have to learn. High school shape ain't college shape because you're playing against better players. And college shape ain't pro shape.
Right.
So Moses said, you need to lose 10, 15 pounds. So I'm down to 285. Things are starting to get better. I'm starting to play a little bit. He said, lose another 10 pounds. I get down to 275. Now, I'm starting. I'm playing well. I end up getting down to my playing weight, which was 250. But if Moses hadn't said that to me, but I think Brent touched on it, at every level you go to, that's one thing about sports. We don't care what you did in high school when you come to college. We don't care if you were Mr. Indiana. We don't care. We're all Mr. Somebody. Everybody on your college team is Mr. Somebody. And then when you get to the NBA, everybody was a great player on their college team. Even the worst guys on the team, they were the best player on their college team. So Brent had it was 100% correct. You always start at 0, but you have to find somebody to follow. Remember, Coach Kenny always tell the story about Bill Russell.
Right.
When he gets on the bus, he said, don't sit by him, he's a loser. Don't sit by him, he's a loser. And, like, you have to, and, like, listen, and hey, listen, and all of us guys know this, Ernie. We've been with some losers.
Yeah, indeed.
And there's been a bunch of players who, for the first contact they had in the NBA was with a loser, and their career was over.
Why is it that some athletes, when their playing days are done, have a less than stellar story to tell? When athletes fail, we'll be back.
How many of you guys go a week without somebody asking me for something?
You know what? If I went a week without somebody asking me for money, I might kill.
You're watching Open Court here on NBA TV. We're talking about keys to life, and along those lines too. You talk about guys who, and I think without naming names, you've seen them in the course of your basketball careers who, when those playing days are done, life gets very, very, very difficult, whether that's because of personal choices made or some bad advice, whatever. When you see that, Reggie, what do you think?
Well, it's unfortunate, and in my opinion, time management and obviously money management. You know, we see so many guys that have the posses, and you know, they goes 10, 15 people deep, and you gotta understand, a lot of these guys grew up with no money. They're still trying to take care of everyone back in the hood, but they got to understand that they're the CEO and the CEO of their own company and their own brand. And a lot of these friends, or hanger-ons as we call them, they believe that they are the ones that put in the blood, the sweat, and the tears that you did, and they are entitled to this. And I think that's where, if you don't have your time managed right, and if you don't have your money managed right, and obviously you have to trust someone to do that, that is probably two of the biggest things that young players in today's game, they don't understand and take for granted, is how much time you have on your hands, because you're not in college. You only practice for 2 hours, and then you're off. There's nothing else to do. And now that you've got a credit card, and you've got cash, and you've got a nice ride, and the mall is 15 minutes away, and you've got 10 people deep with you, that's where a lot of the money is going.
You know, Ernie, Reg is 100% correct. You have to understand something. We're lucky. We're lucky. We're like that 0.0% that got a job after. 99.9% of the jocks, once the day they quit playing, it's over. And they got 24 hours a day with money and hanger-oners. And no matter how much money you made, if you're taking care of 10, 15 people, it go really quick. Because I hear people all the time say, man, that guy makes $10 million a year. I said, on paper he does, but that $10 million is already chopped in half to 5. And if you live in a good life, and if you're trying to take care of all your family and friends, it's ruined. We all hang out together, and we got friends who, like, it ruins your family relationship. Because what happens, Ernie, when you're making 10, 15, 20, $30 million a year, you can take care of those people. But when you retire, you can't do that. You can't do that. So it ruins your relationship with your family and friends, because it doesn't matter what you have did for them. The first time you tell them no, they're mad. And they're angry at you. But to me, the biggest problem is time management. Because once you retire, man, 24 hours is a lot of time not to have a job.
What did you know when you got in, C. Webb, and what did you learn along the course of your NBA career about preparing for the day when you were no longer lacing them up?
You never want to believe you're not going to not lace them up anymore. You know, I was fortunate to have different contracts and hide stuff and be scared of repeating stories that I had heard, but I never thought it was going to be over. You know, very honestly, until I think you always say one day you wake up and you really can't play. It switches that fast. And so, but like Chuck said, I think a lot of people too, from people that hang on, but I think a lot of it is ego too, because when you make it to the league, you make it for your whole neighborhood, you make it for your whole family. And you're right about being the CEO of your own company, but a lot of times we think we're the CEO of the whole company of Detroit, or the CEO of the whole company of all my ex-coaches, or the CEO. And so a lot of people I've seen, older players, like Chuck said, once you retire, there's so many guys that want to sit here where we are. And so I'm honored to be here, but at the same time, the guys that can't, how do you let that ego go and say, I can't help you anymore? Because you're admitting that you're human again. And so I think a lot of, you know, families and friends break it. You know, a lot of the entourage, but a lot of times there's 10 people are, you know, I know guys that carry their AAU coach around. You know what I mean? Because you're given the responsibility of, you know, guys got into your head when you were 18, you're making it to the league by 22, you think that all these, you know, because of all these people. And I know a lot of, I won't say a lot, but I know guys in unfortunate situations because they tried to help the world.
Right.
You know what I mean? Along with going to the mall and tricking it off. But
You're totally right, Will, but I think Chuck said something. A lot of guys are scared to say no, because you feel they've done so much to help me here, whether it's family or friends. But I think, like Terrell said, that time management, financial literacy. Then I think also players don't understand how to keep it simple. You can't start restaurants and business while you're playing in the NBA. There's some guys that can, but you got to know yourself. I mean, you can't watch it. You got to keep it simple. You know, there's some guys like Shaq has 2 talents. There's some guys that only have 1 talent. So you can't go thinking you're going to be this big-time restaurant owner and own 5 or 6 restaurants, and you're playing basketball at the same time. I think the one advice I got from my financial guys, just keep it simple and just save what you got. And I think guys are always, because of our egos, like Webb said, they're still trying to outdo. And it's not so much the money. I want to make more money than Charles. I want to make more money than Shaq, what he's doing off the court. You play in the NBA, enjoy that ride, and then afterwards maybe start someone you have time.
EJ, back to Chuck's point, you're right, it breaks up families and friends. You know, how many of you guys go a week without somebody asking you for something?
You know what? If I went a week without somebody asking me for money, I might kill myself.
And so I think, I think we become like the guilt, like you said, you know, you're used to it, or it makes you, you know, stay away, you know what I mean? Because all of a sudden it's like, dang, I don't even call you to say what's up anymore. How you doing, big fella? It's how you doing, big fella? Shaq, I'm on my knuckles, man. You know, as soon as you hear that, and don't get me wrong, because we all have families from drug problems to financial problems, so you're supposed to help. It's not like we're these great people and, oh, I might help you and bless you. It's not like that. But at the same time, I think a lot of the ego is we used to being the man, like you said, Mr. Basketball here and there, and you retired so early. These guys are retired 26 years old with no other skill.
Money has afforded us a lot of things.
Yes.
We get to go on great vacations, take our family, our wives, girlfriends, whatever. But there's also a dark side to it as well. It could be the root of all evil, because you have so many people coming at you, and it comes to a certain point where they can, a lot of times, guilt you into feeling, look, I deserve this. AAU coaches, hey, I helped you along the way. You had 1 pair of sneakers, and look at you now, and you can't help me. You know, that's the tough thing about it, is they guilt you into a lot of things.
And let me pick it back on what Reggie's saying. It's not the fact that they come to get money from you. is to come the point they come back and want more money from you. Like, I have no problem with helping somebody, Ernie, one time. When I was younger, I was stupid. I called it black guilt. Like all the boys from the hood, like, hey, man, I ain't gonna give you any money. They're like, oh, yeah, you too good for us now. Oh, you made it now, you forgot where you came from. Now, that worked on me probably 4 or 5 years. I got to be honest with you. I probably got $5 million I lent to family and friends I'll never see again. Then I realized my people says, dude, if you keep giving away money, you're going to be broke again. Oh, let me throw this. 70% of professional athletes go broke. 70%. And it's family and friends that are making them go broke. Because, like I say, I don't get mad if somebody asks me for money one time. You know, because something like Chris said, we all got family. I've had drug issues in my family before. I got friends. Hey, sometimes you hit a rough patch. But okay, you hit a rough patch. But when you continually come for me for money, that's what ruins relationships.
What's the cautionary tale here for somebody coming up who's on the brink of an NBA career?
Well, you know, the league does a pretty good job of sending former players out to talk to
the
teams.
Indoctrination kind of process.
Yeah, like, hey,
to,
this is how it's going to happen. And we've all sat through those meetings, and very rarely do you really take it. You kind of go, yeah, whatever, and you look at your phone. And so I don't think players really listen well enough. But to me, there's two things when you retire. One is the money issue, and we could talk about that all day. Two is just your identity. You know, whether we want to believe it or not, a big part of our identity is who we are on the court. You know, that's how people see us. It feeds our ego. We feel good about it. We're accomplishing something. All of a sudden, you retire, and that's gone. And I remember Phil Jackson told me near the end of my career, he said, you know, when you stop playing basketball, it's like a part of you dies, and you almost have to mourn a death in your life. It's like that's the same sort of emotion. So put that together with financial issues, with waking up and not having a job, not having any training for a job, and you're 28 years old and you're facing the rest of your life, there's a lot that can go wrong.
As much as you have athletic goals to try to make sure that you accomplish those things, when you get to the NBA, the one thing that we really lack is to get these guys to have financial goals in the same vein and go after those with the same sort of passion. Once you're able to make it, to have somebody educate you on the business of Shaqology would be important for guys so that they understand, look, my athletic career is fleeting, but financially, I can live comfortably for the rest of my life if I make the right decisions. And I think sometimes those goals are the ones that often are missed.
Go ahead.
It all boils down to education. And, you know, when I say education, I don't mean always go to school and get a degree. You know, you have to learn certain tools of the trade. One of the best quotes, financial quotes I heard was, it's not about how much you make, it's how much you keep. So I used to educate myself by everyone else's failures. He did what? He lost what? So that's how I educated myself, and then always, you know, said to myself, what can I do when I'm done playing to keep it coming in? And a guy, one of my best friends in the world, Charles knows him, a guy by the name of Lester Nispel. He taught me the best word in my life, and it's annuity. And basically what annuity is, you know, the guys make a lot of money, you put some of the money away, so when you're done playing, you get that money back, because everybody's not going to have the opportunity to open up restaurants. Everybody's not going to have the opportunity to do albums and do movies. So the little money that we do come in, you know, we could, you know, take half of that money and take care of our family, take care of the cars and do all that stuff, but the other stuff you have to put away. And see, a lot of guys don't do that. When they make $10 million, they don't realize that FICA taking $2 million, and state tax taking the other $3 million. So you know, we get $10 million and we spend $12 million, which leaves us $2 million whole. And then, you know, when we come in and we're young and we're good and we know that we're going to get another contract, we're not worried about it, because we know we're going to get some more money down the line. But you know, we just need to educate ourselves and educate ourselves early.
You know, when you said annuity, I thought that wasn't going to be the word. I think Steve said it best. Ernie, you just have to learn the word no.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Is it safe to assume that there are former players in the league whose playing days are done who have come to you and said, I'm having trouble. Can you help me?
Ernie, all the time.
How do you say no to somebody?
Well,
how do you say no to somebody you played against? Or
well, I would only lend money to guys I played with, and I've done that before. I don't lend money to guys I didn't play with. I just don't do, like, even though we're in the same field, there's guys who I played with who I've developed a good relationship with. I have lent them money before. But I tell them this now, you can't get any more. Because if you come to me, like I say, like C. Webb said, we all hit a rough patch somewhere. We all hit a rough patch. But you can't come to me more than once. Like, okay, you know what, we're friends, we're cool. But when, and the problem is, Ernie, your family and friends, they keep coming back. That's the problem. It's not the fact that you lend them money, because you're like, we made it. I understand. It's always we made it. Okay, we did make it. I'm going to show you. Hey, Mom, here's a car. Here's a car, Granny. My 2 brothers, here's a car. Here's a car. I got all y'all houses. Well, no, you're not getting anything else. I got you a house. I got you a car. Them the only 2 bills you got. You can't get anything else.
To that point, Charles, you're right. Sometimes we think we're helping. You keep letting
just
them, you're starting to
enabling.
hurt them. You're starting hurting, and you, like you said, enabling them. And I think that's the one part you got to understand how to say no. It's hard, but I think I tell all young guys, when you're drafted, take that first contract. If you're 22,
It's got to be your nest egg.
divided by 43 till you're 65, and everything else is gravy.
When we come back on Open Court, if these guys hadn't made it in the NBA, what might they be today? Would you be in the FBI, big fella?
No, I'd have been a rapper, MC Shaq D. Give me a beat, C-Webb.
Welcome back to Open Court. So, Steve, if you didn't make it in the NBA, you would have been a
coach, for sure. In fact, that's kind of what I thought I would be when I entered college. I didn't think I'd play professionally. So I've always loved the game. I was passionate about it from probably 5 years old. I've told Reggie many times I was a UCLA guy. My dad taught there. John Wooden's teams inspired me. I love the game, and I would have stayed in the game at a coaching level at some point.
You know, you went the GM route after your playing days. Was coaching entertained?
Not right away. I still think someday I will coach at some level. It's something that I have a lot of interest in, and we'll see where life takes me. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of in my blood. My parents were both teachers when they were working, and it was just something that always intrigued me.
Chuckster, what was Plan B?
I didn't have a plan B. I ain't going to even lie. You know, Ernie, when I originally started playing basketball, I said I started just to stay out of trouble. And then once I grew from 5'10" to 6'5" in 1 year, my senior year in high school. So my goal was, okay, you're not getting in trouble. Now we got to get a scholarship. Let's get a scholarship, then let's get a job. So, but after my freshman year, I led the SEC in rebounding my freshman year. And my coach says, you know, if you get 10 rebounds a night, you can play in the NBA. I said, everybody in the world can get 10 rebounds a night, can't they? I didn't realize, like, in the NBA today, there's like 5 guys averaging 10 rebounds. It's such a forgotten talent. But I knew after my freshman year, I says, any big man should get 10 rebounds a night.
Well, up until then, when you didn't know you were going to make it as an NBA player, what did you see yourself doing?
I had no game plan. I just said, I got to get to college and on free. Number one, free was the operative word.
Right.
I says, I got to get a scholarship, then I'll get a job down the line. But I had never got to the point where I thought about, like, okay, I'm going to do this with my life. Like I said, I knew after my freshman year I could play in the NBA.
Reg.
Like Shaq, we're service brats, and it's something about giving back to your community. And, you know, my dad was in the Air Force. I very easily could have, you know, gone that route. You know, I would have loved to have been a fireman, but yeah, I could see myself in the military if I wasn't going to make it.
Wow. C. Webb.
I think all of us influenced by our parents. I know my mother's a teacher, and she always had kids over the house, like community organizer of the hood for people that, you know, parents weren't around or sick or things like that. So I always wanted to be a teacher or a coach or something. It would have been something with kids, I'm not sure.
Yeah. We're just going right down the line here, Bones.
I think I'm right now looking forward to being out-of-work general manager at some point, which is going to happen, I hope. But I would probably be writing something. I'd probably be writing
You have a picture with the guitar.
Yeah.
I see you around the office with the guitar
Let's keep that
Biting his
down low.
toenails, chilling.
I would probably be writing, either for, like, do advertising or writing for SNL or Team Coco, something.
I think along the lines with C-Webb, Reggie, community in the community. You know, I saw my mom doing that. Leroy Haywood, Spencer Haywood's brother, open up that recreation center you talked about, Chuck, and I know how much it kept everybody off the streets, out of trouble. So I thought one day, if I didn't get a chance to go play in college, I would definitely want to do the same as what Leroy Haywood did for me.
Would you be in the FBI, big fella?
No, I'd have been a rapper, MC Shaq D. Give me a beat, C-Web.
Okay.
Check it.
Yes.
On open court in the place to be.
Yeah.
This is Shaq, and this is Ernie.
Okay.
This is Steve, and this is Steve. I'm the greatest big man.
Yeah.
You better believe.
Okay. They've actually missed your calling.
MC Shaq D.
Hey, you know what I remember? When you came in the studio way back in your rookie season, when I was doing it by myself. How about your music career, man? How's that taking off, the rap thing? I saw you with Foosh Nickens.
A little bit, I'm writing some, rapping some. Just waiting to see.
While we were not on the air, I remember you writing down, saying, "What are you working on?" I said, "Working on some rap song." And I said, "Come on, really?" And you were back then, your rookie season, right?
Yeah, I was always a kid that, I had a lot of dreams. On the way to the basketball court, I was LL Cool J. I had the Dookie rope chain. You know what the Dookie rope chain is?
Come on, man.
You got two of them.
Are you 2 Chainz Ernie? He got 2 of them.
I had the gold Dookie rope chain. I had the Kango. I had the Gazelles. I had the Suede Pumas. But then when I got to the court, I was Dr. J. I was Magic. So when I got into the NBA, I got the opportunity to do a couple albums. And I just wanted to take advantage of the opportunities.
Okay, here's just a couple of things here, and these can be quick. If you were, C-Web, if you were a musician, you would like to open for?
Wow, if I was a musician.
First, what would you play, and then who would you open for?
Yeah, wow, if I was a musician, wow, I want to play, wow, I want to be the drummer. Got to get a drummer some. And, wow, I mean, Beyonce, Stevie Wonder,
We can make
Michael
that
Jackson.
happen.
Yeah.
We can make that happen,
Prince.
Bones.
Grunge, Seattle, my years in Seattle, I'd be opening for Pearl Jam.
Nice.
I play a little guitar.
U for unexpected, and Kyrie was a treat. V for MVP voting, LeBron's the name to tweet.
Pearl Jam.
Stevie Wonder from Detroit. I mean, everybody wants to open up for Stevie Wonder growing up in Detroit. He was Mr. Detroit.
I'm just going to pass you because
No,
I'm afraid you're going to go off on a tangent on me.
No, I got a good one. I would be a DJ and I would open up for Public Enemy. My nickname would be Terminator S.
That's what I was afraid of again. I am passing you next time. Stevie. Do you have any musical talent
I really
at all?
don't have any musical talent. I wish I did. I'd like to learn how to play the guitar, so maybe, Bones, you can be my inspiration.
Careful.
I would open for the Counting Crows. That's my
Nice.
favorite band.
Well, Ernie, one of the highlights of my TNT career is tonight y'all got Aretha Franklin on to wish me a happy birthday.
Hi, Charles.
Hey, darling. Hey, you don't know what you mean to me. And number one, take your time out of your busy schedule. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. Happy B-Day.
Thank you.
I know that you're going to be rebounding all over the place today.
Her, Michael Jackson, and the Eagles. Those are my 3 favorite groups of all time. I mean, I just love Aretha. Michael Jackson, I could sit around and listen to Michael Jackson all the time. And obviously, I love the Eagles. So one of those 3, I'm good to go.
All right, Reg.
My dad and older brother, huge musicians. In the Airmen of Note, my older brother. Saxophone would be my choice of instrument, and Miles Davis. I'm a big Miles Davis fan. If I could open for him, that would be great.
When we come back on Open Court,
If you had told me when I got to high school that I might play in the NBA one day, I seriously would have just laughed. I mean, there was no way. But Coach Olson was...
when you think about folks who have helped you along the way, who's the first one that comes to mind, Reggie?
When I got to Indiana, John Long. He had been in the league 17, 18 years from Detroit, tough nose, shooting guard from Detroit, so many years with Isaiah, playing with the Pistons, and being drafted there. And I was fortunate because a lot of young players come in now and they're expected to play and produce. Dr. Jack Ramsey, who was our coach, sat us both down and says, you've been here, he's the future, learn from him. And he took me underneath his wing and really, we went over every scouting report before every game. We watched film. He says, this is the guy you cannot talk to. This is the guy that, he likes to go left. He taught me what the NBA was all about. And look, to this day, every time I see him, I thank him because he was a mentor. He's one of those guys that had such a big influence at such a young age for me, coming in when you're 20, 21 years old, not knowing what the league and the game is all about. He paved the way for me.
Did he do more talking or did you do more asking of questions?
I asked a lot of questions, and I got that from Magic and Michael Cooper. Working out with him during the summer, he's like, look, because they knew I had drafted, to Indiana, and they knew John. They're like, you go in and you ask as many questions as possible. You speak, but, very little, and just learn the game. And that's what I tried to do. I asked so many questions, which a lot of players don't do nowadays.
Yeah. How about coaches that mattered, Smitty? Who's coaching influence? Who was
my high school coach? Rest in peace. He passed away. Johnny Ghostin, from Detroit. He taught me how to compete. Even if we win the game, we would go over the video about you didn't compete on that play. And I didn't understand because I'm saying, hey, I was guarding the guy. I went to rebound, but he said you didn't compete. He taught me how to basically look at an opponent and find some way not to like him, which was different.
Yeah.
Find a way not to like him and make it personal. So I would say Johnny Ghostin was the guy that took me from a skill level to a point that you want to compete at a high level at any cause at any time.
What didn't you like about Reggie?
A lot. pushing off,
kicking,
a little damn powder. I hate it.
What did the powder have to do with you?
Because our trainer would hand it to you.
Yes.
Smack my trainer.
That's all psychological. I know, let it go, right?
No, you got to find the trainer.
Did you like his dance? The pregame?
Michael
I
Jackson.
never really see the dance, really. Maybe on TV.
Why are you bringing up things?
See,
Now this goes back to the Arizona thing.
Just stir it up just a touch. Who was it for you, Steve?
Lute Olson, for sure. I was barely recruited out of high school. He gave me basically a last-second scholarship offer, and then I was there 5 years. I was injured 1 year. So in 5 years, I was able to develop as a player under him. He was an amazing coach, and he took over that program when it was at rock bottom and quickly turned it into a powerhouse. But just the overall experience and everything I learned from Lute and being able to play with the players that he brought in, guys like Sean Elliott and Judd Bushler and Tom Tolbert, and to go through that whole process. I mean, if you had told me when I got to high school that I might play in the NBA one day, I seriously would have just laughed. I mean, there was no way. But Coach Olson was so good at developing players that he even took somebody like me without really the ability to do it and somehow found a way to do it.
Is there anything that you heard from a coach growing up that you'll never forget, Charles?
First of all, it's all convoluted at this point in my life, but I want to give a shout out to my junior high school coach, Wallace Honeycutt. And the thing that he did, I wasn't a good player, but he kept the gym open on the weekend so the kids would have somewhere to go and not get in trouble. And like I said, I'm not even on his team at that point, but it was right down the street. I lived in the projects, obviously. It was right down the street, my junior high school. But he got saved so many kids he would stay on Friday and come early on Saturday just to give us a place to go. Because you're in a small town, I tell people, a lot of kids get in trouble because there's nothing else to do. He just kept the gym, and I'll always appreciate that.
We've heard about the Sarge. Were you an easy guy to coach?
Yes.
In high school?
Yes, I was a very easy guy to coach.
Really?
My father coached me all the way up to about 13. It's a guy by the name of Ford McMurtry. I lived in a town called Wildflicken, West Germany. That's where I met Dale Brown when I was 13. But my freshman and sophomore year, I wasn't good enough to make the team. So Ford McMurtry ran like a local DYA team. DYA stands for Dependent Youth Activities, similar to the Boys and Girls Club on the military base. So he ran that team, and I played for him those 2 years. And he always told me, said, hey, if you just, keep doing little things, one day you'll be the best big man ever. And what he did is I would practice with him and the kids during the day, and then at nighttime I would have to go to the gym And Reggie, you know, would have to go to the local gym and play with the GIs. So, you know, he kind of you know, took me to the next level.
How did all this translate when you guys can all trace certain aspects of your lives now to certain people who were there when you needed them to be there? How does that translate now, Chris, into who are you trying to help?
I just try to be myself, and I think I'll help as time goes on and as the day goes. You know, to think that you're helping, or I'm going to look at this kid and I'm going to do this, a lot of times it's like what Chuck said, it's just being available and leaving the gym open. Or it's just being there for young guys and saying, you know, I went through some of that stuff. If you ever need to talk, you know, holler at me. I'm open with them because I wanted somebody to be that with me. I always said, you know, meeting Charles in the locker room, Rick Mahorn, and, you know, just taking the time and being cool, that's all I needed. I didn't need anything else. I needed him to be the cool guy he is, and I was like, okay, that's the way I'm going to be, and this is what I'm, you know, when you meet the favorite person. So to me, I just try to be available, open and honest, and look at the kids as if, take their ego out of it. They're too tough. They don't want to, you know, and I just try to be like I would want, you know, someone to be to me.
If I was 9, 10, or 11, I wish a Chris Webber, a Shaquille O'Neal, a Charles Barkley would have come to our elementary school and had a chance to speak with us. And when we've been on this platform and, you know, on this stage and you get a chance to go back and speak with kids, it's not like, hey, you can be an NBA basketball player. They'll never have that opportunity to get a chance to speak, touch you, listen to your life stories. And that's the best thing and the coolest thing about making it, because you get a chance to give back.
Open Court, continuing after this. And we welcome you back to Open Court with a reminder you can catch more episodes on NBA.com. Back here on Open Court, Keys to Life, and this is the lightning round, the short answer segment, and I don't even know if this applies to all of you, but I'm going to take a shot anywhere. Your favorite motivational quote, Steve Smith.
Wow, there's a lot. I mean, I think one that was very simple, I think it was my elementary coach. I know Tom Izzo uses this one. It's listen to learn and learn to listen.
I'll take it. Shaq?
My favorite quote is by General Dwight Eisenhower. The greatest leaders are the ones smart enough to hire people smarter than them.
Reggie, are you prepared?
I am prepared because I wrote it down, because you never want to butcher someone else's quote, right? And it's from the great John Wooden, and I don't want to butcher his quote.
No, he's the best.
But this is obviously, being at UCLA for 4 years, this was ingrained in my head. Be more concerned with your character than with your reputation, because your character is what you really are, while your reputation is what others think you are. And we are all on a public stage, and people just see our face and, you know, us playing, and they just know us by our reputation. But obviously, we are all different than what people perceive us to be, which is our character.
John Wooden's got a million of them, and
that's one of the ones
make
I like
every
the
day a
best.
masterpiece. And I mean, he's got the pyramid and the 7 keys to life.
One of the great quotes, I don't even remember who said it. He said, you can pass out or you can die, but you can't quit. And there's times that we all been somewhere and you're like, I think I'm gonna die or pass out. But you keep going. And I thought that was so, like, in sports, that's one thing about the game, Ernest. Sometimes you're like, okay, whether it's in high school, whether it's college or pros, there's always a point as a player where you have to find that.
I thought you were talking about the bar at All-Star Weekend.
I thought it was Travis Abernathy.
Ernie, hold on. Listen, I realize that snitches get stitches, but C. Webb over there cheating on the internet. Looking up quotes.
No, if I hear somebody say something, y'all can say something, and I'll put it in my phone. I just have like a section of quotes, and I'm cheating. I ain't doing nothing.
Are you prepared now, or would you like, Steve?
Well, unlike Reggie, I didn't come prepared with the John Wooden quote written out. So I know I'm going to paraphrase this, but I love his, in the Pyramid of Success, he says, success is the culmination of the work that you put in, but knowing in the end that you've done the best you can and you've worked for that. And John was much more eloquent with the exact.
I didn't want to butcher the great John Wooden's.
And
we appreciate that.
Thanks, you got it.
How about the two holdouts here?
Well, I'll paraphrase because I know he's got it already written down there in the phone. But Steve knows this quote well, and you do, Smitty, as well. Being in San Antonio, and all over actually the practice facility and the arena, and in different languages, because that's the way Pop likes it. And that it's not the 101st blow that broke the rock, it's the 100 that came before. And that's paraphrasing it a bit, but a really good something to live by, quote to live by.
Yeah, I couldn't find any in my quote thing, but my grandfather used to always say, kill yourself. And basically it's like, if you're going to come to me crying, it's kind of like what you said. If you're not going to stop, if you either do what you're going to do or kill yourself and quit crying about it. So, you know, it's not the most eloquent.
I like
but
grandfather. He tough, man.
Yeah, he was like, basically,
kill yourself. Stick yourself.
My dad's was be yourself to me, which I think has been fine. But you know what he also did when I was first starting out in TV, and I can just see, because I'm a dad and I'll pick up stuff for the kids every now and then that I'll see, and I'll say, you know, I think they'd appreciate that. And I still have it on my desk. And it was just a little wooden thing with leather and written, and said, once you've done your best, to hell with it. And it's like, okay, like the first day I was working on TV in Macon, Georgia, he got that for me, and I held on to it to this very day. But that's Open Court. That's Keys to Life, and we hope you've enjoyed it.